Hi, friends. Welcome. Welcome to our PD session. Get ready to get professionally developed. I'm sorry, I've never said that before. I'm coming off a day of Zooms and another PD session and feeling hyped. Hannah, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm excited.
Good. I'm excited too.
Yeah.
David's going to be joining us shortly. 3, 2, 1, boom. That's how
Hello?
we roll.
Hello, can you
Hi,
guys hear
I
me?
can
David.
hear you.
Yeah?
Welcome.
Okay,
It's
cool.
good to
Yeah.
see
Thank
you. Friends, thanks for answering the poll. How do you identify gardener or architect? Right now it's 50-50. What does gardener or architect even mean? I mean, I actually part of me wants to leave this kind of open-ended as an exploratory question and like not narrowly define it. But let's just, you know what, I'm not even going to define it right now. It'll probably come up at some point in our session. But you know, the vibe of it is gardeners like to kind of plant a seed, water it, see where it goes. Architects do a little more planning, like where is this? Let's make sure that we've got some plans and we're working on things. So we're going to talk more about gardener and architect in future sessions, but I just thought it would be fun to offer as kind of a fun check-in question. This is basically our WACAC session from our 3-hour session shrunk into half the time. It's how to guide a large student caseload through the personal statement and Ucpiq writing process. I'm your co-host, Ethan. Hannah, you'll meet in just a second, and David, you'll meet in just a second. We're glad you're here. Hannah, I'm going to hand it over to you to do like more intros, better intros.
Awesome. So I would love if you could join us in the Pear Deck. A Pear Deck is an interactive platform, and it's a really cool tool that you can use with your students as well. So I'm going to be modeling it for you, but also you can follow along with us on the slides, and it allows the links to be live and everything like that. So this is going to be my first time trying to present my screen over this webinar format. So it looks like I can. So let me try this out, see how this looks. Can you see what I'm seeing? I think it's showing the Pear Deck.
Not yet. If you go to turn screen share on, if it doesn't work for entire in window, you might just do entire screen and just hopefully you don't have anything embarrassing on your desktop.
No, yeah, thankfully my brother has a second monitor. So let me try this again.
So just to give folks context for what this is, WACAC, the Western Association for College Admissions Counselors, graciously offered us this pre-conference session. We had 3 hours to basically walk through in depth how do you guide students through the personal statement and PIQ process. On this session, I'm just going to run through the bullet points. We're going to cover why even lead essay workshops. And Hannah, feel free to share whenever you're able to.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Second, when are the best times to host your workshops? In other words, best times of the year. What content should you cover in a 1 hour, 2 hour, or 3 hour workshop? We're going to give some tips for promoting your workshops. That's something that Hannah will cover in brief, and then David will cover a little bit more. A great tool that we love for keeping students engaged. Hopefully it works here on Webinar Jam. And Hannah's going to give a little brainstorming activity, so we have a little interactive part. David's going to walk through what the program is that they've used at Warren High School. And then I'm going to talk about giving great essay feedback. There will probably come a point where my wife brings me dinner because it's dinner time. So we'll just be like eating dinner together. It'll be awesome. And then we're going to share a bunch of resources, videos, template slides, all the things. Of course, a recording of this afterwards. Hannah, did it work? It's not working.
You know what though? If they're in the Pear Deck, they can see it. And so there's 36 people on here. Yeah, it opens for them. So it's more for the people in the recording. They won't be able to see the slides, but yeah, people are on the Pear Deck so they can see it. But maybe
can I just
you guys
share it real quick for the sake of like folks just watching it?
Yeah, for sure.
Cool.
Because you have the slides.
Yeah. If you log into the Pear Deck, what you'll see is, yep, exactly, Devin, you got it. One of 53 slides. And you'll basically just, and the link to this is in your chat, and you'll click, how are you feeling today? And I'm feeling like this. So I click that, and we are loading the presentation.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to just go ahead and press start class. And so I love Pear Deck because it is very interactive, and the goal is to get 100% engagement. So let's go ahead and get started because we don't have that much time. So go ahead, Ethan. He's going to actually read us this.
It's National Poetry Month. If you forgive me if you've already heard this poem, but I wanted to read this because I think it's such a lovely one. It's a poem by Danusha Lamaris, and it's gone from my screen now. Yeah. I'll find it from another one.
No, it should load.
Oh.
Do you want me to read it for you?
No, you do it. You do
Because
it.
I think they can see it. Small kindnesses. I've been thinking about the way when you walk down a crowded aisle, people pulling in their legs to let you by, or how strangers still say bless you when someone sneezes, a leftover from the bubonic plague. Don't die, we are saying. And sometimes when you spill lemons from your grocery bag, someone else will help you pick them up. Mostly, we don't want to harm each other. We want to be handed our cup of coffee hot and to say thank you to the person handing it, to smile at them and for them to smile back, for the waitress to call us honey when she sets down the bowl of clam chowder, and for the driver in the red pickup truck to let us pass. We have so little of each other now, so far from tribe and fire, only these brief moments of exchange. What if they are the true dwelling of the holy, these fleeting temples we make together when we say, here, have my seat. Go ahead, you first. I like your hat. That's it.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah, awesome. So even another way that you could do it is to just share the actual slide deck if you have it.
That's what I'll do. That's what I'll do.
Yeah.
I'll grab that.
Okay. That'll have it a little not buffering as much. So we want to get to know you as your audience. And so we have a quick poll here. Go ahead and go to, there's like 4 different choices. I see that people are answering them. And I do, go ahead. Did you want to say something?
I was just going to say, will you share with me the most updated slide deck? Because I have the one we did for WACAC. Will you share with me the most updated one?
Yeah.
And you can throw it in Slack. Thanks.
Okay. I'm sending it now.
Awesome. Thanks. Cool.
Yeah.
Got it.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to show the response. We have about 46 out of 63 responses. So go ahead and just choose one. But I'm going to show the responses here. So people on, actually, they won't be able to see my screen. So I think the settings are that I can't share my screen, actually. So it's okay. It's okay. I'm going to try one more time, but it's fine. Okay, so it looks like we have 12 public school counselors, 10 private school counselors, 2 CBO counselors. We have 23 independent educational consultants, 4 teachers, and 5 others. Awesome, awesome. Cool. So moving on to the next one, I would love to know how large your caseload is. So if you could go ahead and do that. Ethan, did you press present on your end? Just so you are? Yeah. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you so much. Okay, and so right now we have about 30 out of 70 responses, and we have 16 people who are 1 to 50, about 9 for 5 to 100, 11 from 100 to 300, 0 with 300 to 500, and 2 with 500 plus, which is interesting because I think at WACAC, D was the most popular selection. So we have 2 more people who are 300 to 500. Awesome, awesome. Okay, great. So let's go ahead and move on to the next part. I would love to know, what is your experience leading college essay workshops? Have you done them yet? Haven't done them? I do them annually, and I could do this presentation myself or others. So go ahead and share that with me right now. Okay. Yeah, there are 135 people online for this, but not everyone is in the Pear Deck. So I'm going to actually put it in the chat one more time. It's pretty simple. You just click the link and then register. I mean, it's not really registering. You're just kind of, yeah. So there's 73 people in here now. So, all right. So go ahead and vote for me. I have about 35 out of 74 people responding. Okay. So looks like right now about 24 people, 25 people are A, 22 B, 3 C, and 3 other. Awesome, awesome. Okay, cool, cool. And let's jump into our intros. Okay, so my name is Hannah Lim, and I was waiting for the pictures to show up. So my background is actually in teaching English to juniors and seniors. Up until this last June, I was teaching full-time at my Owen High School in Cerritos, and I was an EL coordinator, AVID teacher, and coordinator for seniors. And my favorite part was really helping my AVID seniors with their essays and things. And it was very helpful because I was a college essay guide coach the entire time as well. And so I can't believe it's approaching almost a year of me doing this job full time with College Essay Guide, being the director of workshops and counseling engagement. And so these are just some pictures of my students and like this epic core memory of my students surprising me with these really kind notes. So yeah, that's me. Let's move on to David.
And will you just, Hannah, say next slide, and then that'll cue me for next slide?
Okay, sure.
Sweet.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is David Cha. This is my 23rd year teaching at Warren High School in the city of Downey, California. Like Hannah, I taught AVID as well. This is my 21st year doing AVID. I started also the Bears University Seminar, the BUZZ program, which is what I'm going to be talking about in a few minutes, as well as the Warren Football Academy, which is kind of like I'm trying to take AVID and apply it to our football players that need the academic support. And so those are the three programs that I'm passionately involved in. I received my BA from UCSD, MA in teaching from Grand Canyon University, MA in divinity from Talbot School of Theology. That one took me 12 years. Served 13 years in inner city youth ministry and 6 years in Skid Row ministry in heart of downtown. And so, yeah, I've kind of done different things to serve and help people. I currently serve in Downey Clergy Council. We're an eclectic bunch of people. We got pastors, priests, rabbi, tackling issues such as homelessness, human trafficking, and foster children. Those are the things that I'm most passionate about. And just to kind of explain that picture up there, that's not my father or my mother. That's actually my favorite professor from college. When I went to UCSD as a freshman, I'm coming from inner city. Coming from Koreatown. I didn't really know how to write well. And so I got into college, but I didn't know how to write well. And I was getting C's and C minuses for the first time. And I was just struggling. And that man right there, Dr. John Berteau, he pulled me aside and he said, you know what, I want to help you out and work with you. And he just invested in me throughout my entire freshman year. And ever since then, freshman year was the last time I got a C in anything. And I finished my second MA when I was age 40. That was 6 years ago. And I had no C's in any assignment since my freshman year in college because of his tutelage. To make a long story short, that very picture, about 4 years ago, we took our AVID juniors on a road trip up along the coast of California, and we stopped by Cal State Monterey Bay. And I knew that he was at Monterey Bay, but we never, we lost touch over 20 years. I was kind of surveying around Starbucks to see, hey, I wonder if I can spot him. And he was sitting dead smack in the middle of that Starbucks, teaching another freshman who just failed her paper. And you talk about a reunion of 20 years. This was an amazing moment. And then I brought him out to my students and I introduced him to them. And I thanked him for investing in me because of his investment in my life, I started the AVID program at my school when the district really didn't know about the AVID program. And now we're in our 21st year. My school has 16 sections strong, and we're sending hundreds and thousands of kids to four-year colleges. And so that's Dr. John Berteau and his lovely wife. And say thank you to my teacher. So that's me.
Thank you. And I'm Ethan, and I have lots of free resources on my website, collegeessayguide.com.
Thanks, Ethan. I actually need to keep up with you too. Awesome. So these are the topics we're going to cover. I'm going to talk to you about how to run an effective workshop. I have experience pretty much, doing live and virtual workshops for College Essay Guy, and I pretty much coordinate these for schools like all over the country and world at this point. So we just want to share this knowledge with you. And then David's going to talk about how to create an awesome program that you can actually do in the summer. It's kind of thinking outside the box, but it's so successful and inspiring. And then I'm going to pass it over to Ethan, and then he'll teach you even more. Awesome. So let's go into why even do workshops. Can you go to the next slide, please? Thank you. And then so with workshops, I know that it takes a lot of coordination. It's funny because sometimes I'll like send schools like, oh, you want a free workshop? And they're not necessarily like super excited, because sometimes people didn't ask for it. It was like a drawing, and it's like, oh, this is like so much work to like put together, right? Like I understand like how it is like working at a school with facilities and different things, right? And like marketing it and, you know, all of that. But I just want to say they are so worth it. You can get lots of information at once. It allows you to actually create a same like vocabulary or language with the students, and then it saves you tons of time. So it's a lot of work up front, but it will really benefit you in the long run. And so,
Hannah, could we give away some free workshops today?
yeah, actually, Ashley can provide the link.
Let's not do it yet. Don't do it yet. Don't do it until the end, Ashley, because then people won't stay till the end.
Yeah, because actually the last time she asked me, like, did a lot of people sign up last time? Because I think she put it in an email. Only 6 people signed up. Okay.
We're gonna wait until the end of the workshop. We're gonna give away 5 free workshops. But actually, don't give the link yet until the end. We'll randomly choose people. All right.
Yeah. Go. And Mickey, this is for any essay workshop. So this is not just for UC schools, for sure. Yeah. Actually, we do focus a lot on the Common App. Okay. And so who are you targeting? At this point, it's, you know, juniors after AP test. So you should already be planning it right about now. And then seniors who need to get really serious, because this is pretty much in the, what do you call it? In the fall. So next slide. So something that we need to understand, and this is something that I've had to do and adjust to a lot as I was teaching, is the students are not the same. They're constantly changing, and marketers, they change a lot. It's so funny because when I'm looking up like Gen Z versus millennial stuff, it's always like real estate agents who are putting out like, oh, you know, like millennials like community, so you need an open floor plan. And, you know, it's so fascinating to see, like, you know, in order to reach a certain audience, you need to know who they are and why they became the way that they are. And so we need to understand that Gen Z is a generation that does not check email. I probably don't have to tell you that, because you probably know this at this point, because as a teacher, gosh, you know, like, so frustrated they're not checking their emails, right? But, you know, I was looking up all these articles on like why they don't check their email. One, I don't think they understand, like, that's like the way adults communicate. But one major thing is, like, if you've ever looked at a student's inbox, I kid you not, like, especially if they have something like Google Classroom, just constant notifications of what they need to do. So it's never anything positive. It's all these things that they have to do. And it's like a very negative association. And so something that I've seen with my students is, like, they sign up for whatever, you know, like, mailing address, and like they just get a bombardment of like so many emails from shopping to school to very important college things, and they don't know how to differentiate it. So even in my Avid class, I had to teach them to have a junk email, personal email, like all these different things, because they don't take any of the emails seriously. They don't know how to like kind of figure out or prioritize what's important. And why am I telling you this? Because this is the primary way that we communicate with our students, right? Because I'm telling you right now, they're not listening to the PA, they're talking to their friends, right? And so they have gone through education through the pandemics. That means they're like expert multitaskers. While, I mean, I'm sure some of you are even doing it now. You know, I was just in Ethan's webinar and I was totally, you know, doing 5 other things while I was watching, right? And so because of that, there has to be a level of engagement that's different. And that's why we use Pear Deck. And they're also considered the loneliest generation, right? And so they spend so much time online, and that's what fosters feelings of like lonely, isolation, and depression as well. So with that in mind, this is who our audience is for our workshops. And so I'm going to kind of touch upon why we need to adjust to the upcoming generation. So one of the major things that we need to do is think about, what do you hope to accomplish from your workshop? It's not just checking off a box of like, I need to get this done, and like just, you know, just throw up information at them. Like, what do you want them to know by the end of the workshop? What do you want them to feel? And what do you want them to do? What are some action items you want them to have? So in the Pear Deck, I would love for you to write, in my workshops, I want my students to just one of those things, like set an intention. So go ahead and do that for me right now. I'm just gonna wait for the responses. Okay.
By the way, Hannah, because I'm sharing my full screen, I'm not able to see the chat, and I'm not
No
able
worries. I could take a look. Yeah.
Great. I'm not even able to see y'all's faces. I'm just looking at the PowerPoint.
No worries. No worries. Yeah, one of my students just told me I don't check emails. Seriously, ask your students to make a contest of how many unread emails they have. You will be shocked. Like tens of thousands. I took a picture once because it was like fascinating. Yes, yes, yes. I'm just going to read a few of these out aloud because there's just so many. I want them to feel like it was worth it, that they accomplished something. Yes. I want my students to feel seen and heard. Very, very beautiful. I want them to feel confident and empowered to write their essays. And that's definitely a goal that we have. Feel that they're not alone in the college admissions process. Yes, for sure. What college essay is and start writing. How to start their drafts, feel accomplished, happy with their applications, comfortable, proud, confident that they can succeed. I like this, how you're incorporating our check-in. I want my students to know they are the architects of their essays, not anyone else. Yes. Nice. I want them to feel excited to write and discover themselves. I want my students to come up with PIQ ideas on how to present themselves, tell their own story in an authentic 17-year-old voice. I really like that one, actually. I want them to brainstorm 2 to 3 potential topics that could lead to an effective essay. Great. These are so practical. I love them. And also, Ethan, a quick tip is if you present by presenter view, it won't take up your whole screen.
Ooh.
So you can try that too.
Let me look. Presenter view.
Oh, so if you go on the slideshow on that little arrow on the right side, yeah.
The arrow over here?
On next to slideshow. Yeah, that one.
Presenter view.
Yep.
Oh, there you go. And you can see
so
all
it doesn't take up your whole screen, right?
Oh my god.
I can only see the screen, yeah.
Sweet. Great. Thanks for that tip. This is why you are the tech master. All right, thank you. We're good.
I've done many workshops, yes. Okay, so awesome. Okay, so then like when do we do these, right? Because I really seriously had to like constantly think backwards because I understand it, counselors. You have so much going on. Like it's like, when do you really have time to like dream and plan these things when you're dealing with APs coming up, you know, like trying to figure out their classes for next year, discipline, students not passing, and you know, all of that. I totally get there's just so much going on. And so ideally, if you could just fit this into your schedule, once you get a rhythm, it'd be really good. So we believe that there's a really nice sweet spot between APs a couple weeks before finals and but before they end school, because it's not just like finals week, right? They're preparing for finals as well. We also have done workshops like early summer and then even right before returning to school. But again, it's harder to get them in the summer because they're definitely not checking email, right? And so there's like fewer opportunities to kind of like advertise things for them and stuff like that as well. And so let's go into the next slide here too. So for juniors, during the school year, what you could do is you could have them potentially English classes in person, but I put a little asterisk there because I know you're already like, you expect me to talk to my English teachers at my school. So as a former English teacher, I totally know it is not easy to try to ask teachers to do anything. No offense to teachers and stuff, but sometimes we're like, you cannot ever come in my classroom and try to do anything. And especially English teachers, it was very, very frustrating when like all the announcements were doing our classes, because we do have every single student on campus. So that was the most efficient way. But some teachers might actually appreciate the break of you being able to actually say, can I take over, you know, your classes and do these presentations? And so, so if you develop a good relationship with them, it is possible. I just want to let you know, even in my English department, I tried to do PDs with like senior English teachers, and not everybody came, you know, so it's definitely optional and stuff like that. So, but that is a great time to do it. It could be later at night if you're doing a virtual workshop. I think virtual workshops can work if you use something like Pear Deck. So after sports, after dinner time, so between 6 and 8, we do get a lot of workshop requests during that time as well. And then after school, if it doesn't conflict with big school events. So sometimes counselors do look at the schedule, master calendar or whatnot, and like look at like times that may not conflict. So going to the next slide, at my school, they pretty much just went for seniors rather than juniors, which is fine, but hopefully well before like those early admissions deadlines, not just for them, but for you, because they're going to be lining up at your door asking you to review a lot of stuff. So again, during English classes in person, and the same as the ones that I mentioned before. I think that sometimes students feel like adults don't have like their schedule in mind, and so they kind of resent it sometimes. One time I had a workshop request, and then I found out when I got there that it was their last day of school. And I was amazed how many students still came, you know, but they were like spent, right? And so I think we do need to acknowledge that they're teenagers and, you know, they're already pretty burnt out at that point. So where should you have them though? There are two different options. There is the virtual option. And so obviously there's Zoom, right? So there are actually a lot of pros to this. I do get a lot of schools who say, but they're so zoomed out and stuff like that. But if you do it right, there are some great benefits. The times and dates become way more flexible, right? You don't have to like try to coordinate everything at school. More students are usually able to participate than trying to get them all into a room. And you can record the session so that you can send it to them later. The cons are, you know, students could be more distracted. You don't really know if they're paying attention. But again, you could do a Pear Deck. And what's also really cool about that is it actually exports their answers. So you know if they're engaged from beginning to end. So for in-person, it could be in the theater, library, multipurpose room. Sometimes it's actually even beneficial to have them in multiple classrooms, because if there's too many students in one room, it can get kind of hard to like, you know, get them to do such personal work in that kind of a setting. But it just depends, like how spaced out they are and stuff. So the pros is you can see if they're engaged, right? So the cons is the coordination setup, and some students may not be able to attend, and you can't record the session. All right. Moving on to the next one. So then how do you do them? So there are different options, like 1, 2, 3 hour option. And so obviously the 3 hour ones could take more coordination, but sometimes people want to have a boot camp or something like that. And so for the 1 hour option, the idea is that students are going to brainstorm and be introduced to the topics. That's okay. Not topics, but the two formats or structures, the narrative and the montage. In the end, the goal is to just kind of get them excited, but they're probably not going to have an outline or a draft by then. For the 2 hour one, it's all of what we talked about, but then you're giving them time to actually work on the exercises so that they should have like at least some kind of an outline. When we do the 1 hour workshops, it does go very, very fast. And so if you feel like they can handle it, it's great, but ideally 2 to 3 hours would be good to kind of give them like the fundamentals. So for the 3 hour, it's all those things I just talked about, and have a chance to start writing a draft and maybe even getting some feedback from you. And so when I would do them in person, I used to like float from student to student to like kind of give help. So, I mean, obviously by the end of the 3rd hour, they're not going to have a finished essay, but at least they're going to feel a little bit more like ready to go. So
sometimes people ask, let me just say, sometimes people ask, how much time does it take? And I'm like, I'll take as much time as I can get. And you probably feel the same way, where it's like, whatever time you can snag, the better the workshop's going to be. So
yeah, for sure. Okay. And then also remember that you need to give time to market it too, because sometimes people book a workshop, they're like, oh, we'll do it in 2 days. It's like, are you sure they're going to come? And not that many people come. So you have to keep that in mind to give them ample time. So how do you promote them? Remember, they don't check email, right? And so if you take a look at this like pie thing, it's kind of shocking, like how many, and by the way, it doesn't mean that they they respond to them, right? They're just like checking it, right? So it's not personal, everyone, when they don't reply to you. So what we recommend is like giving them a physical flyer or some kind of like showing them something, whether it's, you know, I mean, you could put this in an email too, but like sending it out via Google Classroom or whatever it might be. So we actually have this template for you. If you're on the Pear Deck, you can actually click on it, and then it'll take you to, you know, you could just fill these in and put in the information. And so there's several different options that we provide there. Emphasize them class, like telling them, like going to English classes if you want to, or just senior classes or junior classes, whatnot, but also word of mouth. Like if you know a student personally, telling them to tell their friends, stuff like that will be really, really helpful, because a lot of these students don't want to go by themselves. So if you can get them to get their friends to come, that'll be a lot more helpful. So then how do you engage them then, right? So again, they're multitaskers, and I've had to teach them that you are not a multitasker, you're a switch tasker. Your brain actually can't do multiple things at once. You are just like shifting your attention. And so the way to get them to internalize something is you have to involve them somehow. And so I do recommend Pear Deck or a Nearpod. Most schools or districts will have some kind of subscription to this. So like my husband, he works for LA Unified. They have a subscription to Nearpod. David, does your school or district have?
Yeah, we use both.
Use both. Okay. Well, they're so lucky. So you have options, right?
Yeah.
And so our district, because we like fought for Pear Deck, we got Pear Deck. So, but yeah, exercises. So I am going to kind of go through some of these with you, and I know I'm like running short on time, but so I love this quote that I got from traffic school. So this is the one thing I remember from traffic school, and I wanted to incorporate it into my teaching. It's by Ben Franklin, but it says, tell me, and I will forget. Teach me, and I'll remember, but involve me, and I'll learn. And so in traffic school, like they tried to involve us. It was actually interesting, and I haven't gone to traffic school since. So I don't remember what I learned, but it was applied, and I haven't had to go again. So let's go to the next one. So Gen Z, remember, is the loneliest generation. And I love what Brene Brown says here, that connection is the energy that is created between people when they feel seen, heard, and valued, when they can give and receive without judgment. And so someone actually said that I want my students to feel seen and heard. And so one major, I don't work for Pear Deck, by the way, okay? But one reason why I really like it is because the answers are anonymous when we share them. So they don't have that judgment. So even when I'm doing workshops in person, I will use Pear Deck even then, so I could see all their answers and acknowledge their thoughts and stuff there. So very, very quickly, we are gonna do a quick brainstorming exercise, and I'm going to demonstrate for you how we do this with students. If you could go to the next slide, please. Okay, so so you could do this with me, or you can wait till after I model it for you. But we're going to do, because we're running out of time, I'm just going to do I love. And so this is a wonderful exercise that we do with our students. And what I recommend is that you do this before you ask them to do anything, because it allows them to kind of create this bridge of trust with you. And so again, this is the example of involving them. Okay, so I'm going to just give myself 1 minute, and then I'm going to give you 2 minutes to write as many I loves, but you could do it now if you'd like. Okay, so, and this is also a great essay generator. It's not just for fun. Okay, essay topic generator. All right, 1 minute. I love, right now, I love that I get to work from anywhere. I'm in Seattle visiting my brother, and I love that. I love carbonated water. I love my cats. I love Disneyland. I love that people are really trying lately to say my name correctly. I love that I have friends who like try to correct people about my name. I love that my husband misses me very much at home. I love that I'm going to watch my brother perform tomorrow in a musical, and that I can support him because we're really close. I love that, yeah, technology can like join us all here together. And I love my company, and Ethan hates being called a boss, but I love my boss. So all right, so that's 1 minute. So there's kind of like tiny little glimpses into who I am as a person, my interests, but any of those things could actually develop into potential essays. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes to actually do your own too. So I want you to kind of experience this yourself. I know that some of you may be like, I'm not a student, but I promise you, you know, it starts to kind of like stir up emotions, right? Like kind of thinking about the things that you love. So go ahead and write it in the Pear Deck. I love that you're already starting. So I'm going to give you about, I'm actually going to give you 90 seconds because of the sake of time, but it's just kind of a taste. And you can just do like one thing if you want. But I love that some people are really into this right now. Wonderful. Mm-hmm. Wonderful. And I love how these are all so different. Thank you. I love the 80s. I love my cats too. I'm just going to read some of these out loud because I can't share my screen, but the quietness of the morning, seeing students grow and develop, movement, video games, international travel, streaming British TV shows. I love Hawaii, hanging out with my childhood friends. Oh, I love that my husband can watch my kids and I don't have to support him while he does it.
Wow.
Yeah. I can work whenever and wherever I want. My grandbabies, Mexican food, singing out loud if no one is around. Yeah. Being near any water, pond, ocean, river. Audible. Smell of fresh cut grass. Red cardinals come to visit at this time of year. So cool. Awesome. So all of that just made me feel like so warm, right? And I'm reading some of these out loud because I hope that if I read yours, you felt kind of seen a little bit, because this is what we do with students. I'll actually select some of these and then share my screen and they'll be like, oh, you picked mine. By the way, if I did not pick yours, it is nothing personal. So I always put that out there too. So yeah, so I'm just gonna go ahead and move on to this next screen. I'm so sorry if you're still typing, but this is a really, really great exercise to do with students and is often in our workbooks when we do them. So I'm gonna move on. And so, Ethan, if you can go 2 slides over, I'm not going to actually do this reading test. Yeah. Next slide. Okay. Oh, no, not that one. The one before this one. Yes. So I want you to know that, like, this is such a good book if you want to read it. And Mark Brack is really cool that he does book clubs with, like, just whoever's reading it. And the research is clear that emotions determine whether academic content will be processed deeply and remembered. So you have to link emotion to learning so that students can find instruction relevant. It's what supports students in discovering their purpose and passion. It's what's driving their persistence. And something that I remember, like I always would survey my students, like, what is something you remember from this class? It's always the ones that kind of brought up their emotions. And so, like, I know that some students aren't super feely, but these are the parts that they do remember the most. Okay, so I want you to also go to the next slide, please.
You got it.
Hopefully, you're already part of CEG Live, but you will get access to the Choose Your Own Adventure tool. We literally have template slides in here for you. And so there's a workbook with the exercises and everything. And so, Ethan, do you want to show them? Yeah, show them where it is real quick. Yeah.
So, whoops, I'll just go Choose Your Own Adventure tool. All right. So inside, there's this little link that says, this is the Choose Your Own Adventure tool. Inside, when you click Counselors, and you go to where you can use the tool in a few different ways, but if you decide that you want to see the outlines and the PowerPoint template, we have like a template for like delivering a workshop on your own. And Hannah has put together these really nice slides, and you just basically put your name here, hat tip to college essay guy, and things like I love, I know, and there's an exercise called If You Really Knew Me, which is explained in the tool, and the values exercise. And if you want to explain to students, like, you know, what is a montage essay, and, you know, show them sample essays, we've walked through that here. And then we've also got sort of like a walkthrough of how to deliver, like, sort of minute by minute exercises that you can do. So say you wanted to lead a workshop, you know, kickoff brainstorming workshop. Here's exercises that you can lead, and there are different videos that you can just watch those and lead those on your own. Or some folks like to play those videos, and it'll show you how to introduce things like montage and narrative structure with example essays. Other things real quick inside this is there's a guide to giving workshops. There's also a guide to like using this as a curriculum. So if you want to split this out into like a 3-day program or a 4-week program or an 8-week program, we explain all that, and you can basically just take these and tweak these. So this is the thing that you would actually like share with students. So here's what we're doing, and we're using this tool, and here's what we're going to do on day 1. And you just fill in with what are the months, days, and time for all this. And then it's also got answers to pretty much any question that a student's going to ask. So if the student asks like, when I'm trying to revise my essay, how do I build a better beginning? It answers questions like that. So that also, there's an FAQ that also connects to like, answering pretty much any questions. So
can you show them the workbook also?
Oh yeah. So at the very top, in the top right corner, all of the work that students complete when they're going through this tool, whether they do one of the workshops through CEG Live or whether you guide them through it, are all inside this table of contents. So let's say the student wants to do brainstorming exercises. They click this bookmark, and here are all the brainstorming exercises that they work through, and they complete it all in this Google Doc. They go to the file in the top, and they make a copy for themselves, and they just put their name at the top, make a copy, and it puts it in their Google Drive. And then in the top right corner, they hit share, and they just share it with you, so that you can see all of their brainstorming work. And then as they work through it, you can see their outlines. And then, here's the way the outline, the way we guide them through that. And then you can see their drafts. So they've got it all in this one doc. So it's all in one place. So yeah, that's a quick look inside the tool. Boom.
Awesome. Do we want to share how we get the tool?
Yeah, let's do that. That's a great idea. Let's just do a quick PSA. I'll do a quick PSA for CEG Live, and then we'll take a stretch break, and then we'll kick it over to David. So CEG Live, just real quick, is the thing that some of you are signed up for, some of you aren't yet, but it's basically these virtual workshops that are led by me, yours truly. I'm going to stop this video so that it's not just playing forever. There we go. I like that frozen image. And it's a series of these basically boot camps. And the way it works is you sign up. We have 3 different options of when we do the personal statement one. And the one is like end of May, early June, one is mid-June, and one is August. And day 1 is brainstorming. Day 2 is outlining writing. Day 3 is revising and up-leveling. Students get to choose between these 2 different times. And essentially they walk through this process. So they go through a crash course really. And this is for those of you who are like, I'm too busy. I don't have time to plan a workshop, but it would be great for my students to do a workshop. Send them to me, send them to us. We'll walk them through it. And then you can do as you like with them. In other words, you can have them share drafts with you or say, good luck this summer. I'll see you in the fall, depending on how you work with students. And then in August, this is late, midsummer, we have this how to write the application and supplemental essays. And it walks through activities lists, additional info, why us, short answer questions. And that's similar structure, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Again, they have 2 times they can pick. And then in July, for those of you who are working with students on the UCs, we've got the Ucpiq things that corresponds to a whole different tool on how to write those, because we know they're super different. And we have a whole separate UC personal insight question tool. But by the time they go through this, they should have a pretty solid idea of what they want to write their PIQs on. Or if they're going through this, they should have a pretty solid draft of their activities list. And if they go through all 3 of them, then they should have a pretty solid draft of their personal statement, their common app, pretty much, solid, and their UCPIQs. At least that's the goal. Folks wonder about the price. So get this, it's $0 if you just click $0. So depending on whatever budget you have, it's a pay what you can thing. So this is not like a huge sell. It's just like, if you've got money, great. But if not, it's all good. So we'll share the link in the chat for that.
And he's not exaggerating there. He really means it. That's what I love about Ethan, and that's why I'm here.
This is all right. Thank you, David. David's such a he embarrasses me every time you talk. All right, let's because we were going to do a break, but we're kind of over on time. Like we're like 10 minutes behind. So I want to actually just encourage folks to do the sort of plane stretches. So wherever you're sitting, if you want to just do one of these, if you need to get up and get some water, feel free, and you can take a break, at any point. But David, time check for us. We had hoped to transition to me in 12 minutes. So if you would be down to take like maybe 15 minutes and maybe at half hour past, and I'll give you like a little 5-minute warning, then we'll make sure that we each get a little time to say some stuff. Does that sound good?
Yeah. So how much time do I have?
You got 15 minutes.
Okay, 6:31. All right, here we go. All right, everyone. My name is David Cha. I'm an Avid teacher. This is my 21st year doing Avid. I've been working with first-gen students all these years. This will be my 18th graduating class. I've done college essays and applications. This will be my 18th year doing it. And I just picked up along the way from this company, this workshop, that workshop. And I've just, grew as an educator in this area of college essays and applications over the years. I came across Ethan's materials a couple of years ago, and I can't help but just admire the guy, because if you're in public education or even in private education, I mean, not too many people are so philanthropic like this guy. And so when I came across his materials, I started to use it. And it was so simple for me, because I'm not an English teacher like Hannah. I'm not a writer like Ethan or Hannah. I'm a history guy. But I needed to help my kids get into best colleges. And so I created a summer school class just for my Avid kids, because I wanted to cater to them during summer so we could get their essays out of the way when fall started for their senior year. And then just a few years ago, I wanted to try it out with the entire school, entire senior class. And so that's where fall 2019 kicks in. We started our first workshop with, I think, about 90 kids in the library. We divided them into 3 groups. And first 3 Saturdays, we had Group A come in, and then the following week, Group B come in, Group C come in, and Hannah came in those 3 Saturdays. And in the following 3 Saturdays, we met with the first 3 groups, again, in that order, but without Hannah, but with just our school teachers and myself to work with them in small group. We tried it the first time, and it worked pretty well, but I wanted to take it up to the next level. And so if you remember 2020, summer of 2020, it was a very tough time. And so we wanted to try BUS as a summer school class via Zoom. And I just knew that our kids were going to need all the support in that, especially that year. And so I told my principal, I said, can you know what? Let me try this with the entire senior class. And so we gathered an incredible group of educators. I mean, these are some incredibly dedicated educators. And what we did is we created a Google folder for every kid. So every Google folder had a syllabus, questionnaire, and all these documents that we were going to use for UC's Common App essays and YS essays. Oh, you're going to love the college essay guy YS stuff, by the way. And so we had a kid have a folder, and they shared it with an individual teacher from Warren High School with my colleagues. And so the way we did it was we had Hannah come for the first 4 days. She taught on UCPIQs and then Common App essays. And then the following 5 weeks of summer school, the individual teacher met with a student one-on-one through Zoom. So everything was done through Zoom, because obviously it's 2020. And it was so tight in schedule. We couldn't get enough personnel to teach. We ended up doing 15-minute sessions per student. It was such a tight window. I got to tell you, one of my colleagues, he had few more students than other people, and he ended up having 86 Zoom sessions one week. And it was just, I mean, if you could imagine 86 Zoom sessions. And so, but he was an amazing educator. And anyways, to make a long story short, that's how we ran that class, that summer school class. It was a summer school class called Study Skills. And then on the notes or comment section, they put BUS, B-U-S, Bears University Seminar, because that's what I called it. And so we did it. And then we did it for credit, no credit, so that, for those kids who are 4.0 and higher, even if you get an A, it's not going to bring down their GPA. And then if they complete 3 out of 5 assignments, then they get credit for it. Let's go to the next slide.
You got it. And
so summer of 2021, we ran it the same way. It was very successful. By the way, both of those summers, 2020 and 2021, we started with about 140 kids, and then we ended with about 120. So the attrition rate was pretty good considering it's summer school. And 99% of these kids, and I'm not just saying this, okay, I mean it, okay? They finished their PIQs completely. And most of them were also able to finish their Common App. And so, yeah, in 6 weeks, we did that. And they also created their UC activities list. And you're going to like his stuff, too, for activities list. And so, so this summer, we want to spice things up a little bit because we're about growth mindset here at Warren High School. And so we, for us, one thing that we were kind of not as strong was on advertisement, because that's not my forte. And so my colleague, my amazing colleague, Carla Lopez, just shout out to Carla Lopez, because she said, David, why don't we send out postcards? And so I said, hey, postcards sounds great. And so she sent it out. We started our advertisement early this year. It worked beautifully. How do I know it worked beautifully? In the last 2 summers, we had to wait till the week before summer school to make sure we met that number goal. This year, today is April 28th. Summer school starts in the first week of June. We are already almost maxed out. And so our kids are like ready to go. And so one thing I want to share with you, because you guys are sharing a lot of stuff and sharing is caring. And, I love college essay guy. So I want to share with you in the chat room our website that Carla created. So this became a major commercial for us because, it was just word of mouth. But now we're kind of saying, look, this is our website. So this is now in our school Canvas page. And so this was an announcement that went out to everybody. And on that website, you can see, a little intro video, even course syllabus. You get to look at what our amazing Carla created. And so there's a, little video that I made for about, I think it's like 3.5 minutes. What is BUS? Eligibility. So we're asking for juniors that have a stay-weighted GPA or 3.0 or and above. And and then there's a summer school link right there for our kids. And then for About Us, it's just our missions, our passion. And then the BUS alumni. We have some testimonial videos of the former students who have been accepted into some really good schools. And this is their video testimonial of sharing how BUS has helped them. And so, all of these kids that are on that video, they're all first generation. And that last girl, Natalie, she got the Gates Scholarship.
Wow.
And those of you guys that know scholarships, Gates is as big as it gets.
Yeah.
It used to be Gates Millennium Scholarship. And I had 2 advocates who won that too in 2011. But Natalie won the Gates Scholarship. And she's at SC right now. And so and then let's go back to our presentation. And so so that's what we're doing right now. And so we're kind of upping our game a little bit at Warren High School in terms of running a college essay workshop. Here are some suggestions that I would recommend to all of you that are trying to run a big workshop of this size. You need to ask your district for a list of juniors with 3.0 or higher GPA, stay-weighted GPA, after the 3rd quarter. And so, because after the 3rd quarter, you kind of have an idea of who's going to be, having 3.0. And then, if they're like 2.8, 2.9, then encourage them to take summer school, because you guys all know summer classes that they take prior to their senior year still goes into their application and it gets counted towards their GPA. Recruiting begins also in late March and early April for us now. Again, postcards, it worked for us. And then on the postcard, we had a QR code. So then the QR code would take them to our website, okay? It wasn't just the postcard that says, hey, join us, okay? We had a QR code, all right? Everyone knows how to use a QR code with a camera, so there you go. We use dialers. It started going out last week. We had it timed every few days. It was going to go out automatically. We also maximize our school social media accounts, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. It went out. We haven't had our information meeting yet. I don't think we're going to need it, to be honest. We may need it in the next few weeks just to say, we're going to meet. This is our first session and so. But, like I said, advertisement was beautiful this year because I have an amazing team. When students ask for the summer school class, they ask for the study skills class. And then on the comment section, they just put BUS, B-U-S in all caps, because there's another study skills class, but that's mostly for freshmen. Let's go to the next slide. All right. Ethan, I don't know what you're eating, but it looks really good. Okay, so
I'm sorry.
Assignment is our students have to complete what's called senior questionnaire. And so Senior questionnaire is this just general questionnaire that we have all of our seniors complete the very first day of summer school. Like, what's your GPA? What classes did you take? What extracurricular activities did you do? Clubs? Any hardship? Just everything. And, one thing that I absolutely love this year is Hannah, that lady right there is an amazing instructor, because she's creating this workbook. You guys are so lucky that's watching this video, because only you will know. But this UC workbook that she's creating, oh my goodness, it's going to have the senior questionnaire embedded in that workbook. And so my kids don't have to go from document to document. They could just use that one Google Doc, which is amazing. And so anyways, so what I do as an educator and my team does is we go through the kids' answers as soon as they completed the first day. And then we just highlight, and then we put suggestions on the Google Doc on the side of the comment. We put like number 1, this will be good for PIQ number 1, PIQ number 3, PIQ number 7, 5, 6, whichever. So we make a bunch of suggestions as much as we can. And then when we meet for our first one-on-one session the following week through Zoom, we go over those ideas. And then what we do is, hey, guess what? Here are some graphic organizers that you can use to write your essay. And I love these that Ethan teaches: feelings and needs, narrative structures, and BBs. Okay, and there's others too. But these are the ones that are just very easy to use. Very, they're just nicely organized, and it works for us. And so let's go to the next slide.
You got it.
Okay.
I'll show that workbook in just a little bit, by the way, y'all.
Yeah. Oh, and it's at the end too, but I'll also show it. Yeah.
Oh, it's so beautiful. I mean, yeah, it's so amazing. Anyways, so we've been serving about 120 to 140 kids each summer. If you want to add more kids, you need more teachers. At least for us, that's what it takes. You need dedicated teachers. I mean, I had another teacher named Maria. I mean, she was meeting with her kids after school. I mean, Carla did too. They were meeting with the kids after school on the weekends. Again, because we only had 15-minute sessions. And these were my Navy SEAL teachers. And they were not going to let these kids down. And so they were meeting with them in the evenings, in the weekends, without any extra pay, I mean, that's the kind of teachers that you kind of need to recruit. And so we use Google Spreadsheet for the kids to make weekly appointments. And then if they need to take another summer school class, we suggest that they take the first session from 8 to 10, and so that they have time to go to school by 10:30. Just so you guys know, we do everything through Zoom. There's no physical meeting as a group. And then they check in for attendance by answering the daily question on Canvas. But then the actual one-on-one meeting, our kids and the teachers, we only meet once a week for 30 minutes starting this summer. And so, I mean, it's as flexible as it gets. I had kids in Mexico, like they get on the internet, if they have Zoom, hey, let's go, let's work on your essays. And so they were able to go on family vacations, but they were able to still work on their essays progressively. And so, I mean, that the flexibility is the most beautiful thing about how we run it at our school. And so, but you do need your principal to fight for you, for that. And so, and I have an amazing principal. I mean, man, Dr. White is my principal is amazing. Anyways.
Time check, David. 5 more, like maybe 3-4 more minutes?
Yes.
Doable?
So what I suggest to all of you that want to do something like this is use the successes of former students. Those 2 students that you see on the screen right now, those are my former advocates. They are now Torch Scholars at Northeastern University. It's one of the most comprehensive scholarship packages that's out there. And they only pick about 12 to 13 students every year. And so that's Jessica and Jeffrey, and they all both want to study neuroscience. And so I can't wait till they become doctors, because, they're going to come back and speak to our kids and just inspire them. You need to get your principal to advocate for you, because summer school is 6 weeks, but we felt like 6 weeks was too short, especially considering how much extra work my teachers had to do. So we asked the principal to fight for us to give us 1 more week. Kind of crazy, huh? Right? So like our teachers are saying, we want to teach 1 more week. That's how they are. And so we asking the principal to go and fight for us 1 more week. We need 30-minute sessions, not 15-minute sessions. And lastly, and this is something that's in the works, we want to use bus class to the advantage of our students in every way. And so for our kids who are between 3.0 and 4.0, any A through G class with a grade of A would help them. And so I share with you initially that this class is offered for credit, no credit. However, right now we are in the works of trying to make this class a G elective, so that if those who have 3.0 but below 4.0, they can take this class with the G elective, get an A, and then you will help them boost their GPA. All right, Hannah, next slide, or Ethan, next slide. That's how we started in the library, but that's now what it looks like on the right side of the computer screen. It's just an empty classroom. I just see the kids, and then they make appointments, and we go from kid to kid to kid to kid. The one in the middle, that's my friend who's a professor at MIT. We also have what's called College Talk on the last day of each week. And so we have like an hour set out where we invite speakers to come and share about their careers. So Katie is an engineering professor. She's a chemical engineering professor at MIT. So she talks about engineering, especially as a woman in engineering. And so chemical engineering, that's all COVID. And so she talks about that stuff, and it's so relevant. I also have another brain surgeon that comes and speaks. We have a UC admissions counselor that comes and speaks. Former mayor of Downey comes and speaks. And so we try to inspire our kids. And so, yeah, I can't believe I did that in 20 minutes. That was amazing. Wordy. But, I did have open house last night, so I'm a little bit tired. But here I am. So, Ethan, I'm done.
You're the best. And we'll save Q&A until the end.
Okay.
You did it. You did it.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So I want to offer y'all a quick guide to giving great essay feedback. And by quick, I mean, this is the 5 to 8 minute version. But I want to offer you also, and someone asked in the chat, where do we find these links and stuff? Inside here, I'll just show you where this is again. Inside the Choose Your Own Adventure tool, the stuff that I'm going to be sharing with you are inside. If you click the Counselors tab, somebody asked, where were those PowerPoint templates? It's right here. But what I'm going to share with you is a quick guide to giving feedback using the tool. So when you're trying to help students pick a topic, I find that a couple good questions to ask students when they're writing about a montage, which is not about a challenge, I'll encourage students to ask, or counselors to ask students, is it an elastic topic? Elastic meaning, is it stretchy enough to talk about lots of different sides of you? So for example, if I were to write an essay on Australian history, I don't know a lot about Australian history, so it's not going to be very elastic. But if I were to write an essay on games, I know a lot about games, so it's going to be stretchy enough to talk about lots of different sides of me. And then uncommon is another thing. If you want to stand out, the more uncommon the essay topic is, the more likely it is to stand out. So it's easier to stand out if the essay topic is more uncommon and elastic. I think it's harder to stand out with topics that are more common and not as elastic. So on the topic you can offer students this framework and say, not to say that you can't write a great essay on a common topic, it's just harder to stand out. With a narrative essay, which is a challenges-based essay, I ask students, what are the challenges that you're dealing with? In some cases, students are writing about challenges that are more mundane, like I got a bad grade. In some cases, they're writing about more extreme challenges. So the first question I ask is, are the challenges compelling? Now, that's a very nebulous term. And part of the conversation that we have with students is like, what makes a compelling challenge? And we don't have time to get into that just at the moment today. But oftentimes it's, just as a quick side note, getting a clear sense of how that challenge impacted the student's life. So if the student does have difficult or compelling challenges, and if they're able to come up with some wow insights, in other words, here's a thing that impacted me and I learned from, that's going to be easier to stand out than if it's a challenge that's a little bit less compelling and the insights are, not quite there. So that's a simple framework for thinking about a student's topic. But when it comes to helping students figure out, I'm going to scroll down a second, how to improve a draft, here's one. First of all, what I tell folks is don't touch the grammar on a first draft and don't proofread. Why? Because when we're first thinking about an essay, we got to think about whether or not the content works. Is this the right clay that we're molding with? And I just did a whole webinar on this, just this thing right here. And then we think about the structure, the how. But if we focus on the details too early, then we're sometimes subconsciously sending the message that the content and the structure are good to go. If I'm fixing grammar, the student's like, oh, I must be pretty good if they're talking about grammar, right? So I want to recommend don't touch the details. Let's talk at the content level, especially on a first draft. So here are some questions that you can ask students when they're writing their essay. So I want to offer these 4 questions that you can ask a challenges-based essay. So if a student's writing a challenges-based essay, you can ask them, is it clear what the challenges are? Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's a little bit vague. Well, what was the thing you went through? But beyond that, is it clear what the effects of those challenges were on you? Because again, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's like, my parents got divorced, and the reader, they kind of assume the reader's going to know what that means. But the thing that can help the challenges-based essay stand out is articulating some of those impacts or those effects. Next, is it clear what the student did to overcome the challenges? This might be obvious to you, but sometimes you'll notice if you look at the sort of word budget that they're spending all of their time or most of their time and energy on the challenges and effects. I think it's good if a student can spend at least 25% of the essay on what they did to overcome it. Next, is it clear what they learned through the experiences? Now, some folks say like 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 is good. I think that's pretty good. I think at least by the midway point of the essay, if it's 650 words, by the 325 word point, we're into the what you did about it and what you learned stuff. But if you can offer these students these simple 4 questions, oftentimes it's going to give them the tools that they need to think about, okay, well, what might I need to include that's not there just yet in terms of, again, content. If a student isn't writing about challenges, 4 questions that I love are, is it clear what the topic or the thematic thread is? Sometimes you'll read an essay and you're like, I'm having trouble giving feedback on this. Why? Because we may not even know what the topic is. A simple way to come up with a topic that's not challenges based is to write what's called a log line. And a log line is a simple 1 to 2 sentence description that mentions the topic and then includes some values. So for example, let's say I was writing an essay about games because I really like games. So my essay is about my personal statement is about how games have helped me connect more with my family, value, have taught me some interesting lessons in leadership, another value, and have helped me or actually develop my interest in social justice, which I could write an essay on. So each of those values is going to lead to a different paragraph. It's important, second question, once you have the topic defined, that you have specific examples. And again, something that you know, but sometimes those essays are really vague, and just asking the student to come up with specific examples. For example, games have taught me how to connect with my family more. Well, give me a specific example, specific image, instance of that. Third, are those values clear in each of those examples? Because sometimes you'll read a paragraph and you'll be like, this is a lot of storytelling. I think often what we mean by that is it's lots of narrative and details, but they don't really give us those, what I call nutritional elements. For me, the nutritional elements in a college essay are those values. Those are the things that are going to give the reader a sense of what are the skills, qualities, interests that you're bringing to a college campus. And then finally, does the essay offer insights, AKA so what moments? And if a student has a clear thematic, topic or thematic thread, they've got specific examples that are demonstrating values, and they've got a couple so what moments, they're on their way. Now, one of the cool things about the tool is when students are trying to figure out, how do I fix these things? Because it would be relatively easy, and I'll show you how to do this in just a second, to just scan an essay and have some like big thoughts about them. But part of what students are going to wonder is, okay, how do I then fix things? So let's say you read a student's essay. They share with you their Google Doc, and you feel like the challenges and effects aren't clear. You could say that. You could just say, I feel like you could clarify the challenges and effects. But the student's probably going to wonder, well, how do I do that? So click this link, and it takes you to a section of the tool that helps students clarify the challenges and effects. So basically, they would scroll down, and it would ask them, are my challenges clear? It would give an example of clear challenges. It talks about why it's important to clarify challenges and how to make challenges even clearer. Same thing for the effects. Are the effects on my challenge clear? Well, what does it mean to have clear effects on my challenge? Well, things like my challenge led me to, this effect, schoolwork went unchecked in my house. That's what you mean by that. And then they can read the whole essay here. So essentially, and I'll just go back a second, for each of these things that your problems that you're trying to solve, part of, I think, our jobs become more of kind of like a pharmacist. And so you're reading the essay, you're answering these questions in your mind, and then based on the answer to those questions, you're sending them to different places in the tool. So let's say, for example, a student the what I did about it element needs to be strengthened. You feel like they really aren't including enough details. So you click here, you go inside the what I did about it part. And when you scroll down, you'll see 11 ideas for improving the what I did about it part of your story. And so there are 11 different kinds of questions that students can ask. Like, did you take responsibility for anything you hadn't before? And there's a family example and a school example, being named captain, community example, started volunteering. All these things are things that they could potentially include to basically beef up that middle part of their essay. And on. So I won't go through all these, but essentially what this walks you through is how to diagnose it. Once you've diagnosed kind of what the issue is, then based on whatever you feel, it's kind of like you're a pharmacist and going, here, take one of these and call me in the morning. So you send them off with these different links, and then they can go in, tap into those links. And of course, each video, like, for example, insights, if they're like trying to figure out, what are these insights? There's like a walkthrough, and most of these will have a little video that they can watch if they prefer to watch a video instead. So that's the short version. If you want to see me doing this with a student, if you click here, you'll see an example of me. Like, here's a student's sample brainstorming exercises. And then in this video here, this 3-minute video is me recording what's called a loom. So a loom is a simple 3-minute, it's a simple recording device, recording platform that allows you to, for free, record videos that you can send to your students. I think it's free up to like a certain number of number of videos, and then you have to pay for it, but it's super worth it. I don't know how we would function at CEG without Loom, especially when you need to deliver like sensitive information. And oftentimes when you're talking to students about their essays, it's really sensitive stuff. So you could be like, hey, I think you need a new topic, and just leave it at that. Or you can record a 2-minute video, lead with empathy, and be like, hey, listen, here's what I think is working really well. And But I think it might be a good idea to potentially consider other topics, and here's why. And they can hear your voice, they can hear your tone, they can hear how much you care about them. And some of you, okay, you're like, I don't want to be on video. You can turn off the video, and they can just hear your voice as you walk through their actual, essay, and you kind of scroll through it. So anyway, I won't go through this right now, but this is an example of like a student's values. I saw the brainstorming exercises. I read the essay ideas, and you'll see the actual loom that I recorded for the student if you want to see how that works. I strongly recommend looms. I think they're super awesome, and they're a really efficient way, like I said, to be able to get in there with students and to save a meeting. There are so many times internally with our company that, we'll think, oh, we should probably schedule a meeting for that. And then one of us will go, actually, you know what, can I just send you a loom? And a 3-minute loom that explains, here's the thing I need to walk through, and here's my screen share, saves us a half-hour meeting. I think I went through this. I did go through this. I went through Loom. Ooh, 5 minutes on how to help students deal with cliche topics. So this is the detailed guide version of this. But essentially, I'm going to actually do the shorter version of it. I'm going to Google values exercise. Some of you have maybe heard me do this before, so forgive me. But imagine that we're talking about a cliche topic. So for example, we're talking about a volleyball essay. The simple way to help a student brainstorm a better volleyball essay is first to brainstorm the cheesy or bad volleyball essay. So David and Hannah, help me out here. What are the, and any counselors listening, what are the cliche values for a volleyball essay here?
Teamwork.
Teamwork makes the dream work. What else? Come on, y'all know this.
Commitment.
Commitment, hard work, drive.
Dedication.
Blood, sweat, and tears. Leave it all on the court. Yeah, we've all read this essay. Okay. So
Sorry, I was muted.
Oh, so we brainstormed the cliche version of the essay that comes up with teamwork and hard work and all those things. And then I say to the student often, and you can do this in a group setting too. In fact, it's really effective in a workshop to go, okay, now, and you pick a real student and you do this with them. So you say, we're going to brainstorm your volleyball essay for whatever student is there. And then you go, okay, now let's go, what is the uncommon volleyball essay going to focus on? Can you pick some uncommon connections besides, thank you, Rico and Yasmin, persistence and resilience, right? So how has volleyball taught you, for example, about efficiency, or about inclusion, or about healthy boundaries? Because isn't that instantly already raising interesting questions in your head? Like, oh, tell me about how volleyball taught you healthy boundaries. I would rather read that paragraph than of how it's taught you discipline, because I probably could guess how it's taught you discipline. And you can kind of play a game with students and go, they say equality, and you try and guess it. And you go, so someone says, I want to talk about volleyball and how it's taught me about communication. And I'll go, ooh, let me guess. Is it like you've learned how to communicate with each other on the court? And they're like, yeah, kind of like that. I'm like, okay, let's find another one. So we try and brainstorm until we find one uncommon connection. So somebody might say something like volleyball and objectivity. And I'm like, what? How has volleyball taught you objectivity? And then they'll spell it out for me. And you've got a good one when that student sitting in the front row whose volleyball essay they're brainstorming is like, ooh, and they start to like write something down. And they go, that one's free. All right, let's stop before we brainstorm this person's whole essay. But essentially, you're looking for what we call uncommon connections. And that's the short version. There's a longer guide here. And it can take a common topic that's making common connections to becoming a more uncommon topic that's making uncommon connections, because students can do this. It takes a little bit of time, but once they kind of learn how to do this, it can be something they can use across a lot of their essays. The values exercise is going to be linked in the presentation, as is this the guide that I just showed you. The short version, I mentioned this already, between a boring essay and a standout essay is, we know that those boring essays, the big performance essay, is going to be about somebody being nervous and going on stage, and then they actually do give the performance, or it doesn't go as well as they thought, but they learn a valuable lesson. It's the same for the big game essay. And we're pretty sure at the mission trip essay, they're going to learn about their privilege and how, they really have a lot to be grateful for. But if instead we can encourage students to take a common topic that makes common connections and uses common language and begin to consider, is there an uncommon topic, something that they haven't thought about or that other students might not be thinking about, that's making uncommon connections? So, okay, maybe it is a common topic, but maybe it's talking about some values we wouldn't expect. And when possible, using uncommon language, which is to say, if you read a line and you feel like it's kind of cliche or it's like someone else would say it, especially at the end of the essay, ask yourself, is there a way that I could say this in my own words that would be a line that maybe somebody else wouldn't say? And I don't want to be super hardcore about this and have students feel like they have to use super big words, but I do want them to think about, I want them to improve their meter for what is common language and uncommon language. I don't mean that every single thing needs to be like super uncommon and unique, but I do think it's useful, especially on those cliche lines. We did this. Oh, here's a good example of using uncommon values to stand out with a common topic. As a cornerback, football player, I meticulously and systematically scan the offense, looking for nuances in formation before the quarterback snaps the ball, all in a matter of seconds. It's not unlike annotating a novel. Finding the subtle complexities in my rival team's spread offense has not only led me to intercepting a pass, but has given me the skills to fully digest, for example, Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment, where the smallest and at first glance almost unnoticeable details add to an intricate story that I wouldn't appreciate in the same way had I not been able to notice those details in the first place. So you can see they're uncommon things. So here, football is teaching me not discipline, hard work, perseverance, but it's teaching me about details. And it's teaching me to be more analytical and to think critically. So these kinds of things are what I think can really make a common topic pop. And so seeing this example, students are like, I can't write that, but you can come up with uncommon connections. All right. Here's the UCPIQ crash course. And this is I'm not going to go through like how to do all the UCs because
this is the exercise workbook. This is the exercise workbook
that we mentioned.
Beautiful.
Yep.
Beautiful.
So this is a collab between David and Hannah and I guess me. I guess there's some stuff in here. And it has the 8 personal insight questions highlighted. Here are the topics. And then underneath this, you'll see those 13 elements of comprehensive review. And if you're working with students, I'm only going to spend 3 minutes on this, by the way. If you're working with students on the UC personal insight questions, they need to know that the UCs have really specific criteria. They're called the 13 elements of comprehensive review. They used to be 14 before they dropped testing. Underneath this, you'll see the student questionnaire that David mentioned.
So that is the student questionnaire. That's the modified version of the original one. But this is what we would have all of our students complete the first day. And so while they're going through the instruction in the next few days, all the teachers are going through this questionnaire, highlighting and making comments and suggestions so that when we meet the following week, we review those ideas. and then we agree on 4 PIQ ideas, and then we're ready, and then we're going to go, and then Ethan will continue right here.
You're great. I was going to ask you to chime in here. Look at all these awesome questions. Things like, what are your goals? Do you live in a single parent household? What are you interested in studying and
majoring? Tell them
in?
to write as much as possible.
Write as much. Right. I love this. And then here's a simple values list, thinking about what are your different values, what's important to you. And then we get into, okay, what are these different prompts? And you'll see this activity. This is what we call the BB's exercise. It's a super silly name. Best extracurricular activity brainstorm I've ever seen. Shout out to my brother, Devin, for inspiring this one. But if a student has a topic that is leadership connected, and they spend even 10 minutes going, what did you literally do during your activity, whatever it is? And they use this list of verbs, which is indeed epic.
This page, you got a bookmark. I'm not lying. This page right here that Ethan is showing. You see my eyes? Like, I had open house last night. I'm tired. But right now, I want you to pay attention because this document right here, you have to bookmark. This is so handy for UC activities list as well. Because everyone's going to say, I volunteered here. I helped out there. But you look at this page and you look at that plethora of verbs.
I love it.
You can choose these colorful verbs to make your UC activities list much more colorful. Beautiful.
I love that you love what you do. I love that you love what you do. You love this as much as I do.
Oh, yeah.
So if students spend 3 minutes even choosing some better verbs, that's going to give them some content for their personal insight questions.
Oh, yes.
What are the problems you solved? What lessons did you learn? What skills did you gain? What impact did you have? UCs love impact. They love numbers when it comes to impact. And then if time, if room, how did you apply what you learned? So beyond, volleyball made me a better volleyball player. Like, how did you become a better friend or a better mentor? How did you take that into your family life? If students spend just a few minutes brainstorming using this chart, it's going to help them write their PIQs.
So Ethan, can I stop you just really quick? I know we're getting towards the end, but I need to share this. So can you go to actually number 7 prompt, the community service one?
You got it.
So Ethan has an exercise called Elon Musk exercise. Now, we're not getting political here. Okay, I know we're not going to talk about any of that. But this exercise right here is so good because, everyone, this is what we would do with our students, real life. So if we made any suggestions for number 7 PIQs, having gone through the student questionnaire, then what we would say is, okay, let's take this PIQ idea of you having been a leader at the Red Cross and then having led the club for all these years, having done all these things. And then now let's put that idea into this graphic organizer. So what were the problems at hand? And so I had a student last year who actually went to Harvey Mudd studying aerospace engineering. And she was this incredible leader that was in charge of different areas of Red Cross during the pandemic. And so the problem was students couldn't meet, so they couldn't really serve. That was the problem. So you would raise a stake. What were the problems the students were having? And then what did she do about it? Part 1. What did she do about it? Part 2. And then what did she learn in the process? I mean, the essay writes itself.
Right.
It's not going to write itself automatically, but you see what I'm saying. And so that's what we would say. Here are your PIQ ideas. Once you finalize the 4 ideas, you take them to these graphic organizers, and you will help them to put their thoughts into paragraphs. And then there it is.
I love it. It's so practical. You just connected the dots. Yay.
And then really quick, can you go to the last page? It's something I added that David suggested also, because we were already talking kind of about revisions. Just all the way to the bottom. It's the revision checklist there too.
Yes.
So
So, like if you want the kids to kind of check to see, like, is my essay doing what it's supposed to be doing? And then here's a very simple checklist. But if you go back to what Ethan was showing about 5 minutes ago, the more detailed, the challenges, the effects, is it doing what it's supposed to be doing? And so that's the more detailed way of reviewing. This is the more, very quick way to check if your PIQ is doing what it's supposed to be doing. But guys, that's what we do at my school. And it works. It works. How do I know it works? Well, first of all, I know it myself. But last year, the class of 2021 that graduated, I had 24 avid seniors. 16 seniors applied to UC schools. All 16 got in. This year, I have 23 avid seniors. Well, 22, because one checked in like last month. But let's 23. 11 applied to UC schools. All 11 got in. And so,
That's
I
awesome.
mean, it works.
That's
I don't
awesome.
have time to go too extensively into things because I don't have time. I have so many kids, a caseload that I'm working with.
Yeah.
And so these are the graphic organizers that work for us. And it can help you as well. Just so you guys know, I'm not getting paid for this. Okay?
Yeah, we should mention that. David is not employed by colleges.
Just so you guys know. And like I said, I had open house last night. I'm exhausted. But I'm here because I know those of you guys that are here attending this webinar, you can use the same tools to help your students get into the best schools possible. That's the only reason why I'm here. And so I'm here to tell you that this stuff works.
I heart you, David. This is some more quick resources if you don't know about them. We've got this hub of resources, the College Application Hub, that has stuff on other parts of the process. How do you develop the list? That's important for students right now. Ooh, other quick ones. We have this email templates. If you're like, what should I email to my students right now? It's April, or let's say it's May almost. You go here, you click this link. It's a Google Doc with all the things. Like, here are things for building an awesome summer reading list. Here's how to write, how to get a great letter of recommendation. Here's how to create a college list. So put together all of these email templates. And it's really, if you want to just see the whole folder.
Ooh, that college list spreadsheet.
You can click here and see all of the Google Drive with all of these. And you just copy and paste them and change them however you want into your emails. So yeah, I love your passion too, David. You're getting lots of love in the chat. All right, we don't have a ton of time for Q&A, but we will follow up with a ton, with, I'm going to say a ton, with, the CEG live link. We would love for you to join us. We'd love for you to have us. We also do workshops, and we said we were going to give away 5 free workshops. So now, Ashley, let's share the link, and Hannah will randomly choose 5 folks to get free workshops.
I'll be in touch. Yeah.
Yeah, Hannah will be back.
I'm not choosing them right now.
Right. And so thanks, Ashley, for sharing that out. And we've got a couple minutes here, and I know that it's late, probably for some of you on the East Coast. It's real late, but we'd love to just open it up for a couple minutes for questions if folks have any.
Ask away.
The email templates?
Yeah, the email templates. I'll throw that in right now. Yeah. We've also got, I'm going to throw, while folks are asking questions, we've also got this. We've got this Public and Charter School Counselors Resource Hub. So if you Google Public and Charter School Counselors Resource Hub, you'll see this. This is kind of like a, I don't want to say best kept secret, but it's kind of a gem that a lot of people don't see on the website. Hannah mentioned, templates, email templates. If you click here, different templates. That's the email, the social media templates. So we've also got social media templates that you can use for advertising all kinds of events. So all you do is you click here, you change the name of your event right there, like instantly. Also here we've got, if you happen to be a counselor who's just starting out and you're trying to figure out what counseling books do I need, we've got a big list of recommended counseling, resources. If you're a school that doesn't have a school profile, here's how to create a school profile. That sample student questionnaire related to the one that I think that's even a different one than David has. We might have to update it. How to research schools. Some of this stuff is on the application hub, but for some, for some students who are just trying to figure out what is the Common App or what is the Coalition App or, the Texas application guide, we've got quick resources on that. There's an amazing guide for paying for college. This is a really comprehensive financial aid guide that Amanda Miller created. We covered that one, Hannah, the one about which days of the week, I think. You covered that one. You talked about doing it or 6 to 8. You want to say more about that?
But like day of the week.
Oh, what day of the week? You run a workshop?
No Fridays. Like no Fridays. I would say maybe not even Monday. Like Tuesday, Wednesday, I feel like would be better if it's during the school year. Because I know students have a lot of tests on Fridays, so Thursdays tend to be kind of hard too. So, I mean, I've done all the days of the week, but typically it's Tuesday to Thursday.
Yeah, I agree.
Or even Saturdays.
I agree. That's when we do webinars. That's when folks tend to show up. Speaking of webinars, thank you, David and Hannah, for being here. And thanks all of you who stuck with us until the end here. There's still time to fill out the form if you want to get a free workshop. We're so grateful. We're going to end this on time so that people look at the recording and they're like, 90 minutes, wow, if we go longer, they're going to be like, no way. So thank you all, especially at dinner time for some of you for being here. And we heart you all. Please reach out if you have ideas for resources or you
Thanks,
can't
everyone.
find
Good luck.
here. Much love. Be well.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.